This is something I think we all battle with at some stage or another, and that is, how can I stop thinking about the narcissist? It's a real hard one, actually. Hey there, love. Nice to see you. So, now, how can I stop thinking about the narcissist? Well, there's a whole lot of reasons why that's happening. One of them is that during the relationship, or even if it's a family member, during the dynamic that you've had with them, you're very much, or we are very much conditioned to constantly be thinking about the narcissist. What do they need? What do they want? What's their preferences? What are they going to do next? What are they going to want to have for dinner? You're constantly thinking about their needs rather than our own. So that's one reason why we keep thinking about them, because we are conditioned to train our thoughts on them. So as soon as we take them out of the equation, we really notice them missing. One of the other reasons is a lot of us will suffer from trauma bonding to some degree. So we are chemically almost addicted to them. Okay, and one of the other reasons is that when we've been in a relationship, again, if it's a family member or a romantic partner, it's still the same. When we've lived with a narcissist, we have been living in a state of survival. We're actually on high alert most of the time. We're trying to survive. And so we're in that kind of state all the time. It takes a long time to shift out of that state and into a space where you can switch your mind off from them. So one of the things that you can do, and now it sounds really simple, and I can help energetically with aspects of this, but ultimately this is something that we can all do on our own without the help of a healer. But it does take a lot of vigilance. So the key is you need to actually start to retrain your mind not to think about the narcissist. And I know that's easier said than done, and the truth is, when I started doing that, I was thinking about my ex every 30 seconds. Like, I couldn't go 30 seconds without a new thought coming in to my mind about what had happened or what he'd done, or, you know what it's like. But the point is, it was relentless. So the truth is, it's probably going to take maybe 2 weeks before you start getting, like half a day at a time without thinking about them. But that is the key. So what you want to do is, the moment you recognize that you are thinking about the narcissist again, or you're telling someone about something that they did, just stop. Because as soon as every time you think about them or talk about them, your body starts to go into trauma again. And you'll probably notice that if you think about it, each time you think about something they did to you, you'll start to get really upset again. So not only are we continuing to, I guess, almost strengthen the connection we have with the narcissist every time we think about them, but we're also re-traumatizing ourselves at the same time. So it's absolutely in your best interest to actually spend some time and commit to being vigilant about stopping those thoughts. Now, some people just stop them dead in their tracks. That's what I used to do. As soon as I recognize it, I would just simply stop and I'll think about something else. Other people like to replace the thought with a positive thought. That's totally fine. Whatever works for you is the main thing. So whatever you find best for you, but expect to be doing it for at least a week before you start getting a few hours at a time without thinking about the narcissist. But when you do, you'll find your anxiety reduces, you'll sleep better, you'll start feeling more calm and more peaceful and less hunted as well. So yeah, so it's definitely something that you need to look at doing, especially in those early stages after leaving the relationship. Okay, so have we got any other questions? Hey there, Wes, nice to see you. That's so interesting. Yeah, I see you when you say it was awful. I'm over 1.5 years being out. I'm still haunted. The truth is that if we don't do this, if we don't master our own thoughts, you'll still be thinking about it and traumatized by it in 5 years' time or a decade. It doesn't change with time. So you're better off just to actually commit to. I mean, if it was me, I'd be going, right, tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm going to commit to going to at least lunchtime without thinking of them. And of course you aren't, the thought's going to come in, but just stop yourself. Just chunk it, do a few hours at a time so it's a little bit more manageable for you. So just get through the first half of the day with pushing those thoughts out, then get through the second half of the day with pushing those thoughts out. And before long, it is hard work initially, but before long, you'll actually start finding that, oh my God, I haven't thought about them for a few hours. Then it'll be half a day, and then you'll start really noticing an incredible reduction in anxiety, and as I say, you'll feel a lot more stable and solid as a result. Cool. You're considering selling the marital home and moving out of state? Yeah, that is definitely something I would... Yeah, I don't know your other circumstances, but what I can say though is that helps us obviously in physicality, moving away from them. But if we don't heal what's inside of us, if we don't release that trauma, we're still going to be triggered, we're still going to be haunted. You can go to the other end of the earth, but if you're still thinking about them, or you're still, as I say, carrying that trauma inside of you, then there is no way that you're going to actually get the complete separation that you'd like to, except on the physical. So yeah, moving is definitely something that you can do, but you need to clear out what's on the inside as well if you want to be completely free from them. How do you stop thinking you can fix them? Oh yes, I think most of us are familiar with that, and sustain the abuse. The fact of the matter is that most of us who have been in relationships with narcissists or toxic relationships, we have been conditioned, we've been conditioned somehow in our childhood where it's our job to fix, or it's our job to caretake, it's our job to make others feel happy. So when we enter into adulthood and we start entering into adult relationships, we naturally start to seek out partners that we can fix. It might be that we had an alcoholic parent or a really traumatized parent, but the point is it's part of our programming. So one of the things that I would say about that, first and foremost, we can't fix anybody unless they're ready to be fixed themselves. And the truth is they need to fix themselves. We can support that, but they need to actually initiate that wanting to heal and fix themselves. And in the case of narcissists, I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm not aware of them, but I'm certain they must exist. But narcissists are definitely not known for wanting to actually truly heal. They might go to a therapist, usually maybe up to 3 times, and then they'll say there's nothing wrong with them, it was all you. But at the end of the day, we can't fix somebody else anyway. So the other thing about the fixing is that the problem here is there's a pattern or a belief sitting within that says that it is our job to fix, or we're not okay, we don't feel okay about ourselves unless we're helping on fixing others. And also I think being empaths, a lot of us here are empaths, that is part of our nature as well. But what needs to happen here is that programming or that belief needs to be unraveled in your subconscious mind, and so that otherwise what will happen is you will continue to either try and fix this relationship, or if this relationship ends, you will find somebody else who is broken to fix them. Okay, so one of the things that I do, and I've talked about this quite a lot, but I guess it's a core part of my work because it's where you get the true transformation, is I do a lot of, it's shadow work or inner child work, whatever way you want to look at it. But the bottom line is when we've got beliefs like that you need to fix or caretake, or any of our beliefs like we're not good enough, or we're unworthy or undeserving, any of those beliefs will have a part of us from when we're a child split off sitting alongside it. And it's the part, so the fixing part, what is happening there is there will be a child version of you that feels like they're not going to be safe or okay if they don't fix. So that's the part of you that's causing you to keep on reaching out to relationships that require fixing. So what I would do if I was working with somebody in this case is we would look at a trigger, a time when you have felt that really overwhelming urge to fix, even though you know that it's not good for you. And so you still want to keep on reaching out. We would look at that trigger. We would see where in your body that trigger sits. So each time you think about not fixing, it will cause some anxiety in you somewhere. So we'd focus on that part of your body because that is where you have trauma actually trapped. So we'd focus on that part of your body, we'd see how it feels physically, how it feels emotionally, and there will be like fear and anxiety and I'm not going to survive, or I'm not loved if I don't do this. There'll be those types of emotions and beliefs sitting in there. Then I'd get you to go a little bit deeper and we'd look into that part of your body, and I'd get you to notice whether you can see or feel or sense another version of yourself. Now it sounds really odd, but in a process you will certainly be able to do that because you'll be working with your soul as well. So once we've connected with that young version of you, that is the version of you that has the belief that they have to fix to be okay. So we go to that little version of you and we find out how they're feeling at this time. We give them a voice. I know it sounds odd, but they were not seen, or they were not acknowledged, or they weren't loved, or they didn't, there was stuff they didn't get at that particular time, and that's why they have split off. So they're still stuck, if you like, at that time and that age, and at that emotional level too, in that aspect. So we go to them, we find out what it is they need to say, so we empower them with a voice, we acknowledge what they've said, we find out what do they need to actually be okay and to let go of the need to fix. And so we give them whatever it is that they need, and it's just the most beautiful, beautiful process. So yeah, we give them what they need, and then we bring in the healing energy. Sometimes we bring in your guides if that's appropriate, and occasionally it might be appropriate that we speak to usually it's a parent, but we speak to the parent that was involved in this situation, and it just really empowers and heals and brings it back into balance for that child part. Then we're able to surround them in the energy that he or she needs, and then we integrate them back into your heart. And what you will find is once we've done that process, you would not feel that need to fix anymore. You'll still want to help people, you still want to be kind and kind-hearted and loving, but you won't feel the need to fix out of a place of fear, because that's where it will be coming from now. So you will no longer be triggered, and you no longer fall into that same pattern of having to fix. So I hope that long-winded answer does answer your question. Yeah, well done, Sheena. Even as an empath, I've learnt to stand back and allow people to do what they need to do. That's so true, because the thing is too is that when we don't do that, we often stop people from actually evolving themselves. Even though our intentions are good, we need to sometimes create that gap so that they can step up into it. Otherwise, if we're filling that gap for them, they're not able to grow in the way that they need to. So let's have a look here. Yeah, that sounds really hard. That really does sound really hard, that your ex was arrested for domestic violence and assault. The no contact order was put in place, and it was a shock to the system. And then your divorce started. Hardest thing I ever went through. Absolutely. But you know what? From that place, I know that it's devastating. I know from my own experience it's truly devastating in every way. But you have the opportunity to actually rebuild your entire life, your entire belief system, absolutely everything from the ground up, and in the way it's supposed to be. Because the truth is, if we've been in these relationships, particularly if it's gotten to that point, we have had a lot of trauma right through childhood probably, and certainly through adulthood. So when it hits the skids like that and everything pretty much crumbles around us, what's happening is that all of that old, I'm not sure what's happening there, all of that old density is completely falling away. Okay, so it's awful, devastating at the time, but some amazing and magnificent things can come out of it. So just keep looking forward and do your healing. The main thing is clear that trauma out and rewrite those patterns so that you don't find yourself in the same situation again. Cool, nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for your support. So, what is your advice for trying to be in a relationship with a narc and your son's father, who tries to change his ways, even not drinking, but still has moments of narcissistic behaviour? The first word that comes to me is compassion. And I know that can be quite hard, especially with what you've been through. I mean, at the end of the day, End of the day, I think what's really important here, if you're sharing a child with your ex, then you have to find a way to make it work. You know what? And if you can, the easier and I realise that, you know, the partner has to be on board as well. But you've got two choices. You can either make it hard on each other or you can make it easy on each other. So the easier it is for you guys, the easier it is for your son as well. So if you can try and find a way of making it work, that's good. But what you need to be really, really firm on is your boundaries. Just make sure that you're really clear on your boundaries. Like a lot of the time, I think, especially early on, you know, exes think they can just walk on into your house. You know, it might have been their house, but they've moved out now. It's not, they can't just walk in when they feel like it, but they think they can. Or when they drop the kids off, they think that they can come into the house and have a wander around, use the bathroom and whatever. It's like, actually, no, that is your space now. You know, if you wish to invite them in, then you may, and then you can do that. But the point is, it is your space and it needs to have your boundaries around it. So my advice would be, I think, get really firm on what your boundaries are. In my experience in this situation, I had to set some quite firm boundaries as well. And one of them was, just for example, the second that I felt that I was being abused or triggered in any way, or as I say, he became abusive or swore at me or started calling me names or whatever, I would just simply hang up the phone, or else if he was here, I would just say, is in my home, I would just tell him, you know, basically, you can go, get out. You know, that's not acceptable in this house, off you go. And he would go. And so he has learnt that if he's wanting to interact with me, he does so in a respectful manner, or he doesn't get to interact, end of story. So, yeah, so I'd get clear on what boundaries you want and what boundaries make you feel safe and honoured and respected, and that's where you put your boundaries. And if he crosses them, he's out. But if he's going to play ball, then that's different. So I hope that answers your question. Cool. Nice to see you all. That's so cool. Yeah, having kids with the ex narc is definitely adds another dynamic, that is for sure. So, any other questions, guys? I've got one here that I was asked the other week, which is really great. Why do I keep attracting narcissists? So, the truth is that if we've had one narcissistic relationship, we're probably going to have a string of them. The reason for that is that if we've attracted a narcissist in the first place, or a toxic relationship, or a controlling relationship, we have conditioning, we have programming from when we were kids that have made us more susceptible to these relationships, and we will also have old trauma stuck within our system. So everything is, you guys probably already know this, but everything is energy, and including our experiences, our memories, our emotions, they're all energy. And so when we've got if we've got old trauma sitting in our system where we've been controlled perhaps as kids by domineering parents, we are going to carry in our system, in our energetic field, energy that holds that being controlled vibration and pattern. So what happens is that is like a magnet, and it will be drawing more experiences to you where you feel controlled. And the same thing happens with the programming conditioning that we have. As we were talking about before about fixing, you know, the need to fix, or the need to prove ourselves, for example. Those beliefs also hold an energetic frequency, an energetic pattern. And so those beliefs are sitting there like magnets, and they are pulling in people and experiences that are going to reinforce our beliefs. So those are two reasons why we attract narcissists. The other thing is that if we have grown up in particular environments where we've attracted or created this programming, which we will have, it's very normal to us. Like, it's actually normal to feel this way. So we will start to actually seek out relationships and experiences in our adult life that feel really familiar to us. Even if we don't like it, we'll still seek them out because it feels familiar to us. So that's the reason, and that's again why you want to unravel and dissolve the trauma and the and the beliefs, the patterns, programming that are sitting inside our subconscious mind. And just by the way, they do need to be resolved and dissolved within our subconscious mind. The reason for that is that is where they actually sit. And that's why, actually I had another question here about the difference between traditional talk therapy versus something like what I do, or I can't really speak for other healers, but something that what I do. And that is because traditional talk therapy only sits in that upper layer. It only sits in your conscious mind. So you can manage things, you can strategize. But the truth is that your trauma and your programming aren't in your conscious mind. They're in your subconscious mind. So that's where the work needs to be done. And so when I'm working with somebody, I've got different ways. In fact, most of our work is, to be honest, is done in the higher realms, but it's certainly done through the subconscious mind. So we're able to go directly to the origin of the trauma, and also of the pattern and when the pattern was set, and we can unravel it there. So Sheena, what you said about healing is what I've done on my own. Well done. To clear out the last bit, I went to a healer. The best thing I've ever done for myself. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did mine the other way round. There is no way I would have been able to clear out and dissolve the patterns myself. There's just no way. I was way too traumatized. And to be honest, most people I work with are the same. And I reckon you could, if you've actually got the skills to do it as well, if you know how to work within the subconscious mind. But yeah, keen to chat some more on that. Thank you. Cool. Okay. So I got asked the other day, why do I keep getting triggered when I've done a lot of self-healing and self-love? Well, I think one of the things here is that a lot of us do really, really well on our own. We do all the right things, but there's only so much stuff that we can do on our own unless we've actually got the skills. And so the bottom line is, if you're still being triggered, then you're still carrying emotional trauma in your body somewhere. And I'm sure there are other approaches that work, but I know definitely using quantum energy healing techniques, we're able to go straight to the source of that imbalance and bring it back into balance. So the results are very, very swift, and so you don't have to work at it. It just usually within a session, to be honest, depending, we'd work on one pattern and one trigger at least in a session, and it would be gone after that session. So it is pretty swift. So, now we've got any other questions, guys? Just having a quick look through here. Cool. Now, I mentioned it the other day, just to let you guys know too, I'm going to be offering group healing sessions from, it should be mid-March. I'm just trying to get the technical side worked out. It's just so funny. You know what? Give me somebody who's been emotionally abused for 20 years and I'm really comfortable and happy in that space, but give me something technical to work on. It just absolutely makes my head explode. So just trying to get that worked out at the moment. But the group healing sessions will be things like cord cutting. It will be releasing the injustice energy or dissolving the patterns around wanting to fix. They're all things that are specifically related to what most of us go through when we've been narcissistically abused, but basically they are I'll be basically taking the group through the same processes that I take people through one-on-one, and that will be done live over Zoom. So anyway, so watch out for that. I'll put something out a week or so beforehand, so that will be more accessible financially for people too, if they're not quite able to do personalized sessions. But you will definitely move forward from where you're at right now, and again, it'll be tailored specifically for narcissistic abuse, because I know that there's some really specific areas there that keep us stuck. Cool. Okay, guys, so are there any more questions? Because if there aren't any more questions, we just might do a short session this time. So if there's any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, we might call it a day. Cool. Okay, guys, it doesn't look like there are any more questions, so that's all good. Looks like you guys can go and enjoy your Saturday evening, and I'm going to enjoy the gorgeous sunshine here in Auckland. Hey, look, so good to see you all. Thank you so much for your support as always. Much love to everybody. Bye-bye.